Alrighty, we're here speaking with John Corabi about his new album called New Day. It's going to be out in the stores on April 24th. We've been playing a couple tunes, New Day, the title track, and a new song, When I Was Young. And John, I got to tell you before we start the interview, I've listened to that song. I'm a guy of a certain age, and man, yeah, you hit it. I understand that song.
Well, do you have do you have kids at all?
Yes, I do too.
Well, and it's funny when Marty and I were working on the song, his son, Evan, great kid, beyond talented, and we were coming up with these, like reminiscing about our youth and childhood and all the great things we did and all the mistakes we made. And then at the very end, my wife, still to this day, when she hears it, the last line in the song, it says, "Can you hear me, son?" Um, so it's like, it could even be a woman, obviously I'm singing from a man's perspective, but it could be any adult, anybody that's lived a life and, had great ups and, horrible downs, all the mistakes, all the pluses, and it's like you're reminiscing as you're having a conversation with your kid. And we all do it. We all give them advice. Well, you're a little too young to get married, son. You need to, whatever. And you just kind of, that's what we do, man. We've lived our lives. We made the mistakes. We made the advancements, whatever. And you're just kind of passing that knowledge on to the next generation and saying, here's look at my life. This is what I did right. This is what I did wrong.
Hmm.
Now you go from there. You take it from there, and you know. So hopefully, it's something that a lot of people will be able to relate to. But so far, the response has been insanely good. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
happy.
wasn't sure what to expect when I saw the title, and when I heard it and I was listening to the lyrics and just the whole tone of the song, I fell in love with it. And, it's also one of those things as you get older and you, like what you were just saying, you also start understanding what our parents, like you respect it a little bit more. Like, okay.
Yeah, trust me. When I was, obviously a teenager, wanting to grow my hair out and wanting to wear hippie clothing and wanting to play guitar for a living, you know, my dad was like, "Rah, rah, rah," we were like oil and water. And it just got to be, honestly, when I was probably 45, 50 years old, I had this really in-depth conversation with my father. And, he just said some things to me that were just very emotional, eye-opening things where he was kind of in his own way, kind of telling me how he respected the fact that I did leave home, drove cross country to achieve my dream. And even though I earlier in the conversation, I had been complaining about, like, you know, what do I have to show for all this stuff that I've done? My dad told me this great story that he was like, I wanted to be an artist. My dad was an amazing, could draw, paint, like he was great. But he got out of he got out of high school. He joined the service, which is what you did when you were 17, 18, 19 years old back then during the Korean War. He went, did his his due diligence, came back, met my mom, fell in love, started popping kids out, and he put all his shit aside, or pardon my French, put all his stuff aside and put on a suit and pushed a pencil and sat in an office for 8 hours a day for the rest of his life. And from his point of view, he told me at 45, 50 when I was complaining, like, I don't have this and I don't have that. What do I have to show for? My dad kind of stopped me in my tracks and he was like, you know what? You went to California to chase a dream. And he goes, you achieved that dream. And with that dream, you were able to take care of your mother who died of cancer. You took care of your kids. You had a couple ex-wives. You made sure they were taken care of. And he goes, you did it all playing a guitar. And he goes, now I did really well in my life, but he goes, I didn't do it the way you did it. And my dad said something to me that just, I honestly had to get off the phone with him because I was so emotional about it. But he said, you're a bigger man than I'll ever be.
Wow.
And at that point, I learned to respect a lot of the things that my dad said. I mean, I kind of figured it out being married and having kids. And I knew what he was trying to say to me when I was younger, but in hindsight. But when he said that to me, it allowed me to have the last 10 or 15 years of his life. You know what I mean? And we really respected each other. And then it just made me realize that, yes, a lot of the things that he was saying and my mom were telling me when I was younger, I now fully understand. And I can see where they were right, where they were wrong, where they made mistakes, where they made advancements. And that's what this song's about. It's just about making all those judgments and taking different paths and creating your own thing and then being able to look back and see where you made the mistakes and where the pluses were and then relaying that information to our kids and just we keep our fingers crossed and hope that it gives them a better understanding or a better life. You know what I mean? That's all. But
Even a
that was a
mistake
very
is a
long
lesson.
answer, but you get the idea.
Well, even a mistake is a lesson.
Exactly. Now, if you keep repeating the mistake, then you're just an idiot.
It's
But this
absolutely true.
is, and I've done it a few times. I'm happily married on my third trip around. Do you know what I mean? But you figure it out, it's like, uh, you know, look, life is awesome. New Day was about appreciating the little things like and I'm not here to preach and I'm not trying to preach through music. This is just how I live my life and I just wanted to put it down in lyrics and do my thing, you know what I mean,
Well,
whatever.
John, one thing about music is music should be personal and comes from your heart and your soul and whatever. And then when people listen to it, they put their own experience into the listening of it.
Yes. And that's again, like I'm not going to sit here because I'm fully I fully believe in being a stay in your own lane guy. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I won't tell you how to live your life. Don't tell me how to live mine. Even with my kids, I don't tell them what to do. I give them the advice and I let them process it, figure it out. And if you make a mistake, you know what? I'll be here for you. But you know, this that you need to calculate it just like I did and whatever. But in the meantime, when I was young, here's all the mistakes I made along the way. Try not to make the same ones. That's all.
So that leads me to a question that I didn't even write down. Like, where do you get your lyrical inspiration from?
Honestly, when we were working on the song, when I say we, Marty Fredrickson and myself, we kind of sit there with acoustic guitars and we throw ideas at each other, and I'll be scatting a melody, Marty will scat a melody, and Marty just happened to be singing something, and he said, he had this phonetically sounded scat that he was doing, and he just said, when I was young. And then I heard the music and I go, okay. So when I was sitting here with the lyrics, I was just thinking about, you know, I mean, the lyrics are really pretty simple. It's just simple statements. Looking back at the days gone by, I reminisce and wonder why. You know what I mean? It's just, but it was just me going back when I was young and I was thinking about things that I did right and wrong. And, like if you really listen to the lyrics, like even verse 2, it says, fell in love too many times, never seemed to get it right. I was always on the run when I was young, which is true. I was constantly touring,
Hmm.
always gone, and then obviously I've been married twice. I had multiple girlfriends in between. I broke hearts, they broke my heart. But I say, you know, and I never questioned why when love was lost and they said goodbye. I never came undone when I was young. It was like I was still strong or tried to be as strong as possible and move forward. So it's just little things, man. I was just honestly thinking about my life, like, but how can I word this where it's just going to be just vague enough for people to relate to?
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
It
it
becomes too
wasn't a
personal.
hard song to write, man. Honestly, once we had the music down and a melody, I came home. I sat in my. I have a little home studio, a bedroom. I converted into a home studio, and I sat there with my computer and I just listened to the song over and over again. You know, rewind is my friend. Um, but I just sat and listened to it, and it just. I literally wrote those lyrics in about a couple of hours,
Oh, wow.
and then you know. And I brought it to Marty the next day. And we obviously, once I get in there and I start singing, we're tweaking even as I'm singing the song.
Hmm.
So we're making changes. Marty will say something to me, or I'll go, hey, this, now that I'm singing it, it doesn't, what if we said it like this? And so we'll go back and forth and, finalize everything and really, really edit. But a lot of this stuff was just me going back and, thinking about life, my life, and just life right now as, we're inundated with news every day.
Hmm.
So it was just putting, which for me is awesome. This record for me was really, in some way, like probably the most liberating record I've done because I didn't have to. This is the first time I've been the captain of my own ship.
Because I was reading that this is actually the first full-length solo album of originals that you've done.
Well, in hindsight, it is, but it isn't. I
Okay.
did do an acoustic record. I've done three solo records. I did one, it was an acoustic album, uh, probably right before I joined the Dead Daisies. And um, what I did, I had been doing acoustic sets. So I took a few of my old songs and I reworked them to work acoustically.
Hmm.
And I really like those versions. So I did some of those, and then I had probably 60% of the record was new material. Um, so technically that would be my first solo record, but this is my first full band, like drums, bass, keyboards, like all new material. This is like my first real solo record. If you know, so it's like that statement is correct and incorrect at the same time. You
Makes
know what I
sense.
mean?
Well, I remember, when I first heard of you was obviously in the Scream, and then I loved that album, and then you went on to join Motley Crue, and then
Yep.
all the other stuff you've done since, and it's good to see that. Did you think, when you were young, that you'd still be doing this now decades later, or did you think it would be something you did when you were just young and move on to something else?
Now, to be honest with you, I don't think anybody that sits here and tells you like even as a new artist, I think if anybody sits here and tells you, oh, yeah, man, I'm going to be doing this for 50 years, I'll be 67 in April. And I've literally been, for a lack of a better term, making money at music since I was 16, 17 years old. So this is like 50 years I've been doing this. Now, in reference to the conversation I had with my dad, I had this tendency to sometimes look at the glass half empty. And my dad was the one, like I said, stopped me in my tracks and said, hold on a minute. You know, you have a beautiful new wife, you have a roof over your head. Okay, so you own a car that you haven't quite paid for yet, but you have a car. You're still going to travel all over the world to play music. You're
Hmm.
still doing new music. Like, what are you complaining about? Like, so life is the way you look at it. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
So,
yeah, you're doing your dream still.
yes. And like if you would have asked the 16-year-old John Corabi who wanted to be that, that stared at that Robert Plant poster on his wall,
Hmm.
are you, 50 years from now, are you going to be do that? I 50 to me was like buy the cemetery plot. You know what I mean? So it's
And to
like,
me at that age was that.
yeah, you know what I mean? And so it's just, did I think I'd be doing it this long? Absolutely not. But don't think there's a day that I don't wake up and pinch myself and go, man, am I blessed? This is my 19th record. I'm still getting to travel all around the world. I still get to talk to people like yourself every day. You're my fourth interview today. I've got three or four more. So yeah, life doesn't suck for John Corabi. You know what I
So
mean?
let's speak. The new album comes out April 24th. And then are you hitting the road? You doing a tour?
To be honest with you, I'm actually hitting the road before the record even comes out.
Oh,
So yeah, we're leaving. I've got this thing. I just make it easy, keep it simple. John Corabi and friends.
okay.
And I've got a great group of friends that I'm going on tour with. So we're leaving February 10th and we start in Belfast, Ireland.
Oh, wow.
And we're doing a run through the UK, then Europe. Then we come back here to America. And I'm doing a bunch of dates with Tom Kiefer,
Oh, yeah.
also another very old dear friend of mine from
I've
my
met Tom
Phil.
a couple times. He's a great guy.
Yeah. And again, not to date Tom or myself, but Tom and I were playing in clubs in 1977, 78. So that's how long we've known each other. So it's going to be a great tour. So I do that. Then I go back to Europe for like a week or two, come back, finish up with Tom. And my calendar is filling up daily with more shows, new shows.
Well,
So I'm just very blessed, man. Very
I hope we
blessed.
see you here in Tucson sometime later this year because it
I
sounds.
would love nothing more because I don't think I've played Tucson since uh well, actually I'm lying. I did a show in 2014. I did an acoustic show in some bar in Tucson the day before I got married.
Oh, wow.
And then I flew back to Vegas and met my wife and we did our thing there in Vegas, so it was cool.
So, John, before I let you go, because I know you're doing a bunch of interviews today, and I appreciate the time you've taken. So, the new album comes out April 24th. Can you tell me? I was reading it, but I'd like to hear it from you. Who is on this album with you? You already mentioned one of the guys. So, but if you kind of give us a little, who's playing with you?
Well, on the record, it was mainly I was playing guitar, acoustic electric guitar. Marty Fredrickson, my producer, who also Marty's produced a bunch of people. It's insane. But he also played guitar with Steven Tyler for his solo band. So Marty played bass, keyboards, like, and recorded. His son Evan played bass, keyboards, guitar, also assist engineering, all that stuff. So it was mainly the three of us, but I was able to get Richard Fortus from Guns N' Roses came in and played. He played three solos for me
Oh,
on the
wow.
record. Charlie Starr from Blackberry Smoke.
Wow.
Charlie played lead guitar on a track, and then Charlie, Marty, and myself co-wrote a song called "I Don't Need That Memory" or it's that memory on the record. And then Stevie D from Buck Cherry, Marty, and myself wrote a song called 1969 on the album. And Paul Taylor from Winger and Alice Cooper
Oh, yeah.
played some keyboards and clavinet stuff on the record. So hence John Corabi and Friends. So that was who's on the record. And now I've got a touring band, which is Marty on guitar and vocals, Paul Taylor on guitar, keyboards, and vocals, Michael Devin from Whitesnake and the Dead Daisies on bass guitar and vocals, Jeremy Osbrock from the Ace Frehley Band on guitar and vocals, and then the legendary Troy Laketta from Tesla on drums.
Wow.
So it's a great lineup. It's a lot of fun. Couldn't ask for a better bunch of guys to be in a land submarine with.
Well, with what I would call the bibliography of music that you have, what can people expect at a show?
Well, so the cool thing is we've done one show here in Nashville, and it was a great success. But what I'm doing is I'm going back. I'm playing some Scream stuff. Playing, I'm trying to keep the Motley stuff to a bit of a minimum because that's what everybody knows me for, and I don't want to get away from it, but I don't want to. I'm not here to ride Motley Crue's coattails. Do you know what I mean? So we're doing some Motley, doing some Scream, doing some Union stuff, doing a few Dead Daisy songs, and then probably 5 or 6 songs from the new album,
Oh, great.
and possibly, who knows? We may pull out an old Deep Purple cover or
Cool.
a Creedence cover or something. I don't know, but it's a little bit of everything. It's a great band, and we're just having fun, man. It's been awesome.
Well, I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing you in Arizona before the end of the year. And obviously, I can't wait for the release of the full album. I actually got a copy of it. I'm going to spend some more time with it. But the two songs we've been playing, I absolutely love. And obviously, I have a love for that when I was young. I just, that, certain songs hit you. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's funny, none of us in the band, none of us are spring chickens anymore, but it was funny, even at one of the rehearsals, uh, Jeremy, Troy Laketta, Michael Devin, uh, all those guys, they were like, God, Karabi, man, I hope the record label releases When I Was Young, because they're like, we're listening to this song and it just makes us go back and really reminisce about, like, oh yeah, man, when I was 15, 16, 18, 30, all the things that we did right, did wrong. And they're like, man, this has got to be a single.
Hmm.
And so far, it just came out yesterday.
Yep.
And, it's again, it's just getting off the ground. We put out what they call a visualizer video
I saw it.
yesterday, but the official video is coming tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful video, and it's just like all the reviews and the response. everybody across the board is like, this song is awesome. But it's like all people our age, and
Hmm.
they're like, God, dude, I can relate. One guy even said, I was listening to it and I was thinking, I, I don't pay much mind to the comments, but I do, just like anybody. Um, but this one guy wrote to me on YouTube and he goes, God, dude, I was tearing up listening to this song, all the things I did right, all the things I did wrong. So that's good that, it's bringing out, you know, an emotion. It's
Well,
good.
that's to me, music is emotion.
Yes, exactly.
So John, if people want to follow you, you got a website, you on social media, where can people find you?
Well, I have the, Facebook, John Corabi official, Instagram, John Corabi official. And then I do have a website, uh, johncorabi.com.
Mhm.
All the tour dates, merch stuff, record news, whatever dates. There's a place for them to pre-order everything. So it's all there. If you know how to spell my name, you can find me on the internet.
We'll make sure on this video, we'll also spell your name and put the website up there so they know it.
Awesome, buddy. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Because I've seen people on text to win contests spell the word cat wrong. So, hey.
It is with a C, right?
Yes, I believe so. Yes. But I've seen it with a K. You
I
know,
know.
somebody even did QU one time. I'm like, I didn't say quat. Okay, but hey.
Yeah. You never know, bud.
No, John, I appreciate it so much. Again, the album New Day, we're playing the title track. We're also playing When I Was Young, which we've been talking a lot about in this conversation. But the new album, New Day, is going to be out April 24th, and you can find it everywhere. You can buy hard copies, and I presume it'll be up on all the streaming services as well.
Yep, it's already I just checked this morning and both New Day and When I Was Young it's on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, like all that stuff. It's already out there. So uh I'm very pleased, man. The record label is really pumped about the album. And you know, I was going to try and do a record a few years back on my own, but I don't understand algorithms and sharing and hashtags and all that stuff. So Frontiers asked me if I wanted to do a record. I'm like, yes, you guys handle this stuff because I'm clueless.
Well, you got some good people backing you up there, man.
Yeah, they're good. You know what, dude? I got a great, just recording the album, a great group of friends that helped me out. I got a great group of friends that I can tour with. I have a great manager. The people at the label are great. PR, everybody's awesome. So, like I said earlier, to begin this conversation, life is good in Carabiville.
Yes, it is. John, thank you so much for taking time here in Tucson, and I hope to see you here in Tucson or in Arizona sometime before the end of the year.
So, your mouth to God's ears, buddy.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.